Alrighty, so hopefully now you've set up your own workspace and you've figured out how to navigate it, the interface a little bit, and to learn some of those basic tools of how to maneuver around your workspace, which is your Command plus, Command minus for zooming in and zooming out, or the hand tool by hitting spacebar and clicking and dragging, being able to look around. Command 0, being able to put everything right back into your viewable area. And you can start in those things again, were over here, your hand tool and your zoom tool. So you learned all these things about how to navigate and set it up, but let's talk about how to interact with specific shapes and your artwork as a whole. And that is, since we haven't really taught you how to create the shapes yet, you can go ahead and make your own shapes by just going on here on the left hand side and playing around with maybe like the rectangle tool, creating a shape. If you want to change its color, very simple. We'll go over this in way more detail in the next video, in the next course. But you can click and change the colors if you want, and just to get you started. And then, but yeah, so once you have some shapes here, you can click and hold on any of these on the toolbars over here. The great thing about them, you'll see that they'll have a little white arrow in the bottom right hand corner. You'll see it on a few of them. That means you can click and hold, and you'll see more options within them. So you can make you can make a star tool, make a star, or whatever. And these things that you can, we'll teach you how to move them around and interact with them right now. So if you have those, make some shapes so you can play around with them. Okay, let's go to the first tool that you're going to use every single project, about 90% of the time, 98% of the time, is this selection arrow, which is the black arrow on the top left. That one is just so you can click on shapes and drag them around. That one's extremely important because it's just like your hand being able to drag stuff around and maneuver stuff around the page. So really, really simple thing, but it's important to know the difference between it and these other arrows over here. So that you can get back to this selection tool. This is your default. You always want to go back to this, your default, if you want to move things around. And that's if you hit the V, you can go ahead and get that tool out. It'll always go back to the black arrow if you hit V on your keyboard. Now the one below it does a little bit different. It's the direct selection tool. If you click on it, you'll notice I'm going to zoom in here on this hand. So what it does is it's starting to show anchor points. Every shape is made of anchor points, and you can build those with pen tools and brushes and things like that. It'll give you anchor points that you can manipulate, and that's the cool thing about Illustrator. And in our next course, we'll go over how to manipulate shapes and so forth. But just so you know what this arrow does and how you use it, if you click on one of those, it'll highlight that specific anchor point. So I can click and hold and then drag it somewhere, and you'll notice that I can start building, reshaping things, but it only grabs that anchor point. It doesn't grab the whole thing. If I hit my V again, now if I click on here, it'll just drag the full shape. But if I click A, which is this white direct selection tool, you can go ahead and click on those once, click on it again, hold and drag. Or I can click and drag and grab a whole selection of those, and then I can maneuver those. That's great if I just want to extend something simple, like right over here. I can click and drag that. Another thing you can do too, if I want to click multiple points at a time just by selecting them individually, just the same way you can click and select different objects, is if you click, hold Shift, and then all the ones that you click on from there, now you're highlighting all of them and keeping the ones before. So, and then you can obviously move just that section. Now, if I was going to go back, you can do the same thing with if you hit V again, you're back with your selection tool. You can click on this one, but I want to click and highlight multiples. So I'm going to go and click on that circle, this circle, this circle, this circle, and so now I can have those all together. Now, if I want to have those stay together, you can do that as well. You can right click on this once you have those selected, and you can set it up as a group. So you click group, and now you'll see if I click off of it, you can click back to it. It'll keep those together for you. There's all other ways to do that. You can If you want, you can select things by, you can group things by using the lasso tool. So I can go around any items I want. So I don't have to do it by a square or just by clicking. I can just draw around what I want to highlight. And then now they won't be saved like that until you group them. So if I draw it around there, while they're highlighted, I need to right click on them and then group them. Or instead of doing that, what I can do is hit Command G. That's the shortcut for it. And then you'll notice if I go back to now I want to move them, right? This is a classic, really simple thing that people struggle with. You'll notice that I still have the lasso tool open. Just always get out of whatever tool you're using. Otherwise, if I click, it's going to start doing it again. Just hit V and it'll go back to your selection. So then you can click and drag on your shapes and do whatever you want with them now that they are grouped. Now let's say they're already grouped, but now I want to go and just manipulate just one. I want to change the color of just this one right here. So let's double click on it, and now you're in what's called isolation mode or a preview. And so what it does is it only isolates the things that since they were grouped, all these popped up. So now I can, if I went to like click and highlight, play around, I can't interact with any of this other stuff around, which is great because I don't want to grab all that stuff. I just want to deal with this stuff. And if I want to click on this guy, I can go ahead and just change just his color. And that saves me a lot of frustration and time by being able to do that, because now they're still grouped, but you can mess with them individually. But so if I double click outside, now that one's green, but they're still grouped. So that's kind of a cool tool to use, is double clicking on items so that you can isolate them. Because if I just wanted to, highlight these guys, and if I went like that, anything that I touched with that marquee box is going to get highlighted. And it's really frustrating sometimes to deal with other layers and things like that. So I just like to double click on them. Now you can do the same thing if you have one highlighted. You can also do the same thing by going up here, and it's the isolate selected object, and you can do the same thing. Now maybe you want to select by color or shape or opacity. There's a certain attribute about whatever object you have, and you want to select all the ones with a like attribute. So let's say if it's color, I want all of these I want all the ones that are I want everything blue basically, because I want to put it on its own layer for something else. Let's say I want to click on the blue. I want to find all the other ones that are blue. I don't want to have to go through and click them all individually holding shift. That's just kind of slow and tedious. Let's go up here and it says select similar options. I can go and do the same fill color. So I click on it. Is that a different color? Let's see. Select the fill color, or the appearance. It'll go ahead and do that. Let's show you one more time. Sorry. Maybe because I already have it selected. So let's do fill color. There we go. Sorry. So now that it's you can check, and then you'll see everything blue is what it's isolated now. And you can do the same thing. So there's other options. You can do a stroke weight, fill color, all that stuff. But you can do the same thing if you hit the magic wand tool. It does the color. The great thing about the other this tool up here is that you can do it by other things, opacity or appearance and stuff like that. So that's the power of that one. But yeah, so navigating through, now that you've learned how to navigate through, I just wanted to show you a little bit of how to interact with these different shapes that you're going to be having on your board, and learning how to use these arrow tools and how to just deal with your shapes, because just being able to know the difference between your white selection tool and your black selection tool are so key, because you're going to be using those and switching in between those all the time. So again, you hit A, it goes to your white selection, and that deals with your individual anchors. Double click, and then if you hit just the V, you'll go back to your black, and then you can go ahead and just drag the shape around. So practice with that, make some shapes. Here you go. You can go over here again, click and hold to see more if it has a little white arrow at the bottom, and you can go ahead and click and drag and make your different shapes that you want. You can even, if you want to sneak ahead and try to play around with different colors, or even like the stroke that goes around them. You can make a black stroke. You can play around with that kind of stuff. You won't get in trouble for cheating or sneaking ahead. So thanks. I hope that helped, and we're gonna go talk about how to save and prepare our documents for saving them as print or web or a PDF or however you want to do it. So stay tuned for that. Thanks.